Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel, man. I'm up here at Stockton Lake today, and we've been actually on a camping trip. Got the whole crew, as you can see right there with us today. You guys want to say hi to everybody?
Hi.
Say hi.
Hi.
Man, 3 kids and a dog on a camping trip. It's sort of, there's a lot of challenges that go with that. So anyway, we're up here at Stockton Lake, and the water level up here it's probably about 6 feet high right now. Absolutely perfect flooded buckbrush fishing. And the tip I wanted to give you guys today, or have a little discussion on, is basically just a breakdown and a discussion of how I like to fish buckbrush, what to look for, and some keys to help you be a little bit more successful at it. So let me take a look at this. I'll show you guys. Here's a prime example of what I look for. A lot of times in the springtime of the year, you know, you still don't have these bushes completely leafed out. You know, some of them, as you can see right there, you know, you've got, you know, they're not, leaves haven't started, some have. What you want to look for in the springtime of the year, early summer when you're flipping, is you want to look for these bushes that have a lot of the green leaves on them like this. The ones like this that have that are just dead like this aren't near as productive. So the ones with the green leaves are really going to be key on this. And another thing is what we're looking at here is when you see, you can, like we're coming up on this little cut right here. You're coming up and you've got this little entrance to a cut here. It's not really point, but it's a little bit of an entrance. This is a key area right here. This area leading into this little cut. The cut itself is not going to be that productive, but this area for like the first 20 or 30 yards into this particular area is going to be critical on that. So, you know, when I get into this type of area, I'm really breaking it down slow and methodical. So this is one thing. Now let's move on to the second aspect. Okay, we're coming up on a key feature right here on the bank. When you have a long uniform stretch of buckbrush like this, that can be good and there can be a lot of fish in it, but when you get to one piece that sets out a little bit further, this is a super high percentage area right here. I would say that on this entire bank, the straight stretch, your odds of catching a fish go up 100% on an area like this. There's always a fish on these little bushes that stick out a little bit further. A lot of times the water's a little bit deeper, a little bit more complex. So this is one of the key things that you really need to concentrate on. And when I get to an area like this, I make sure that I stay a long way away from it, and I make a lot of different pitches into the bush. Now I want to show you guys a little bit more here about the breakdown of it specifically. A buckbrush is a very complex piece of cover. There's a lot of limbs on it. It's really easy to get the fish hung up in there. It's really easy to lose fish in there. But in an area like this, my first cast into this thing is going to be the key cast. My first cast is going to be in the very, very center of it there. I'm not going to put it on the edge or back in there. You've got the center part where you figure that the root system is that comes in there, because what you have is the base of this bush is going to be open down there in the bottom. So even though it looks thick right here, once you get it down to the base of that bush, it's a little bit more open, and that's a great spot for a bigger fish. A lot of times if you try to put it in a real tight section back in there, where the base isn't back in there, it's simply the limbs are too tight for a good fish to get into. So always try to analyze the bush and try to get into the thickest base of it. And a lot of times you can see the base, like if you look at this one we're coming up on here, you can see the main stalks of the buckbrush, the larger stalks, they sort of come down in a V in an angle, and that's where your base is going to be right there. So that's going to be a really high percentage area. A couple more other things here you have to remember on here is, even though the cover is extremely thick, shade is a big key. So a lot of times when I'm fishing down through an area like this, even though, you know, it may look really good and there may be a lot of limbs going in a certain direction, I'm always keying in on the shade or the shade edge. A lot of these times these fish will use the shade and the edge of the shade, you know, just sort of an ambush point as an edge. So always remember to get into the shade. Another thing you're going to find out this time of year, guys, on fishing buckbrush is earlier in the year, a jig is highly productive, but once that water temperature starts to get close to 70, which it is in a lot of parts of the country right now, you're going to find out flipping a soft plastic creature bait. My favorite is either a Zoom Z-Craw or Z-Hog on like a 1/2 ounce sinker, and your sinker size should not be determined by how thick the cover is. It should be determined by how clear the water is. I don't care how thick it is. If the water visibility is really dirty, like under 12 inches, I'm going to be using a lighter sinker, like a 3/16 or a quarter. And if it's clear, like it is here at Stockton Lake, I may go up to a 1/2 ounce or a 3/4 ounce to get a reaction strike out of those fish. So don't really let the efficiency of penetrating that cover be your thing. Concentrate more on the fall rate, with that. Also on top of that, I never use braided line when I'm flipping buckbrush. I always use fluorocarbon line. I think you get a lot more bites on it. The only time that I would ever use braided line in a situation like this is if the water was super deep and the bushes were super thick with some stained water, and then I might try that. But 95% of the time I'm using 25 pound test Seaguar and Bizex line as my main key for this bush. So anyways, that's just a few quick tips I think is going to help you guys out fishing flooded buckbrush, which is my favorite type of cover to fish this time of year when a lot of guys are deep cranking. I'm up there flipping the flooded bushes. I think we're going to go find a swim beach to get on now too. There's a big tournament going up here today, so there's a lot of boats on the lake, so we're just going to sort of do a little swimming and get ready for the week next week. So thanks for tuning in. I'll see y'all later.